$2.4 million in additional profit in 5 days. That's what one email campaign that we did in one of our portfolio companies generated.
Alex Hormozi is one of the most well-known content creators and one of the best businessmen of our time. But what most people don't realize is that Alex Hormozi is an absolute killer at email marketing too. So whether you're looking to send emails to the email list of an e-commerce brand or an education company, this video is going to uncover the exact email marketing methods that Alex Hormozi has used to generate over $2.4 million from a single campaign so that you can just about copy what he's done and implement it for yourself.
Here's why I think you should do email. I was a moron and decided to not email for the vast majority of my life because I hate money, apparently. And so the average ROI for email, depending on the source you look at, is between 35 and 45 return. So that means that for every dollar you spend on software or putting time into your email, you can get like $45 back. Like imagine if there was a stock investment that you could 50x in a week. That's kind of like what email is, and people still don't do it, myself included.
This is by far one of the most common reactions that I see from brand owners that we work with who are doing email marketing for the first time. Most brands are so focused on Facebook ads and TikTok these days and really just other shiny acquisition platforms, and they basically completely ignore email because they don't realize how profitable it should be for them. Like Alex said, if you're not doing email marketing in 2025, the only acceptable reason that you could give me for it is that you hate money. Founders also always especially kick themselves for not starting to collect emails from a pop-up form on their website and setting up their basic automations like their nurture flows or their welcome series and their abandoned cart flows earlier on, because it's really one of the lowest effort and highest leverage ways to lower your customer acquisition cost and become less reliant on Facebook ads and Instagram ads over time. In terms of the $1 in, $45 ROI that Alex mentioned, this is definitely wildly different from company to company, depending on their sector, depending on their AOV and their repeat purchase rate. But absolutely, this is achievable for most brands when you consider that sending one email costs less than a penny.
Part of the reason that making money on email is more profitable is because you actually have already spent the time to acquire this contact. And so in a lot of ways, email is just follow-up. And so you spent the cost to acquire the lead, now you're just reminding them that you exist. And so basically the only real cost is just whatever software you use and whoever or whomever you may have to pay in order to write the emails. That's pretty much it. And so one email writer can send an email to 10 million people, and that is a tremendous amount of leverage that you get in your business that a lot of people ignore. On top of that, email is one of the most consumed media platforms, and it hasn't died down. So 61% of people check their email multiple times per day. 20% of people check it multiple times per hour. It has almost the same consumption rate as social media in terms of how engaged some of the users are of people reading their emails every single day.
There are a ton of founders out there that do know that they should be sending more emails. Maybe you're one of them, and they still don't do it. And it's basically always the same story. It's because they're investing so heavily in those shiny platforms like Facebook or TikTok to drive traffic to their website. So they tell themselves that they don't have a budget to hire an email marketer, not realizing that a solid email marketing backend in place will make the dollars that they're putting into traffic generation go 10 times further by being able to retarget site visitors with email instead of more ads, which is far more effective and cost efficient. For many companies, Alex is right in saying that they may only need a copywriter for plain text emails that they're sending, which is going to lead to extremely high ROI. But even for companies that need a designer to visually sell their products and differentiate from their competition effectively, the ROI is massive when they're executing properly. And in terms of how many people check their email and how often they check it, these stats are accurate. People have been saying email is dead or email is dying for years, probably a decade at this point. Yet I can guarantee that if you're watching this right now, you have probably checked your email several times in the last 24 hours. So 100% email should be a non-negotiable for companies to invest in for the higher ROI that they're going to get on those dollars that they're spending on acquiring new site traffic. And this doesn't even scratch the surface when it comes to the ability to reconvert one-time purchasers into repeat customers.
HubSpot ran a really cool research study where they saw that they had an increase. So already insane ROI for email. They had a 791% increase in ROI from email from one thing, which is people who segmented their lists got way higher returns on email, which should be somewhat unsurprising, right? Like if you send the right emails to the right people, then they will be more likely to buy your stuff. So if I send a beginner email to a list of advanced people, they'll be like, this is not for me. And to the same degree, and also it doesn't have anything to do with the email, it just might not be right for them. And to the same degree, if I send an advanced thing to people who don't have a business or want to start a business, then they're gonna be like, this doesn't apply. And so it's way less about how good the email is and so much more about who's getting it.
This is great advice for certain companies and absolutely terrible advice for others. I often audit accounts that are missing out on up to 70% of the revenue that they should be driving because they're following this exact advice. Simply put, if you run a company with a highly fragmented customer base, Alex's advice will work for you. So an example here of what Alex is referring to can be a company that sells men's clothes and women's clothes. If you send an email showcasing new women's clothing to your customers who you know buy men's clothing, of course, almost none of those customers are going to buy. But what about a company that sells men's clothing, women's clothing, and home furniture? What most companies will do in this example by following Alex's advice is create hyper segments to decide who to send those furniture emails to based on either a minimal set of data that they have, or more often, their own internal beliefs and biases on who is likely to buy furniture. So for an email campaign selling furniture, what they're gonna do often is create a segment for anyone who has spent something like over $300 on women's clothing, or spent over $500 on men's clothing, or has visited a furniture product page on their website in the last 30 days, and that's who's gonna get the email. While this may seem smart, all it's really doing is massively reducing the amount of people that are going to receive this email for no good reason. If that brand has 100,000 email subscribers in their database, it's very likely that that segment I just described would probably only have 10,000 subscribers. But does the fact that someone has only spent $100 on clothing, or maybe never bought clothing before, mean that they're not a qualified prospect for the furniture that's being sold in the email? Of course not. So ultimately, you can't try and guess who's going to be in market for the products you're selling in any given email if there's even a 1% chance that they might be interested in that product. So if you're a company in this situation, you should limit your segmentation to engagement criteria for the most part. Now, we've seen similar results to that 791% increase in revenue that Alex mentioned, but it actually comes more often from making the segment definitions broader, not making them tighter. At my agency Dispatch, our segmentation strategy in one sentence is to send to as broad an audience as possible while keeping our deliverability healthy, and then using dynamic content to personalize our emails for different customer groups.
If you haven't sent email, or you really don't send often, like once every 6 months or something, the first time you send an email, you're gonna have a higher unsubscribe rate than normal, and that's okay. I call it shaking the trade. It's basically like pulling forward churn. It's the same thing if you correspond with customers who are on a recurring revenue business and you haven't been emailing them or haven't been reaching out to them, you will always get more churn. You'll get next month's churn and this month's churn all at once. And so the highest churn I ever had was on the first email I ever sent. And so it was like just over 1%, which is crazy, right? But now it's like 0.42 unsubscribe rate per email, which is fine. As long as we grow higher than that between emails, that's a good ROI.
This is mostly accurate. The goal with email marketing is to generate the highest revenue possible. So that means that every metric that doesn't directly contribute to that goal is a vanity metric. It doesn't matter. But regardless, founders like seeing a big list size because it makes them feel comfortable, almost like a cushion they can fall back on if ads were to stop working. But that's simply not how it works at all, because a large part of your list will never buy, and focusing on converting the ones that are going to buy is what really matters. The caveat here is that in order to generate the highest revenue possible, we need to keep our deliverability healthy, and we need to keep the subscribers that do have the potential to convert on our list. We don't want those subscribers to unsubscribe. So there is absolutely a tipping point where a high unsubscribe rate will negatively impact our ability to drive revenue by harming our deliverability or by leading to unsubscribes from those good customers. Ultimately, if we assume that you're sending great content that's providing a ton of value to your email subscribers and that you're not sending too frequently to burn them out and cause unsubscribes, in that scenario, the unsubscribes that you do receive will be from a small number of people that are no longer engaged with the brand or interested in the brand, and that's not a bad thing. When we audit brands' accounts, we typically see very high unsubscribe rates and spam complaint rates because they're usually not sending content that's resonating, it's not providing any value to their audience, and also at a technical level, their settings are not optimized to reduce the frequency of emails that subscribers are getting in a short period of time, which also leads to really high unsubscribes. If you want to learn how to convert over 10% of your site traffic into email subscribers, the automated flows you need to convert them once they sign up, and the exact segmentation and content strategy that we use for our clients, click the link in the description to get access to our full document, which has everything you need to know about email marketing in 2025. Now back to the video.
So we had 10,000 people who registered. And so from 10,000, we had 800 people who actually bought. All right, so we had about 8% of people who made the purchase, which is pretty good. Not unhappy about that at all. Do I think we can improve it? Yes. But fundamentally, This was to a list of plenty of people who hadn't bought. They knew who we were, so I'd say it was a little bit warmer than true cold. But a lot of them had never bought anything from us before.
Converting 800 out of 10,000 people, or 8% of a list of prospects, is incredible no matter how you slice it, especially when it's just from one campaign. Alex said this himself, but I definitely would not call the audience that made their way onto his list cold. But regardless, this definitely is not out of the ordinary in terms of the percentage of your email list you can convert from regular evergreen campaigns that you're sending 2 to 3 times per week over the course of a year, paired with major conversion opportunities like Black Friday or big shopping periods where you're going to be able to convert a really large number of your prospects that have been on your list getting nurtured through those evergreen campaigns. So to sum it up, we can put it in this perspective, which is the expectations for a regular brand or company out there should basically be able to do what Alex did in one day over the course of an entire year, which is still great and highly profitable. In general, you should be able to convert up to 20% of your email subscribers that sign up to your list. What's important to note here is that if you're converting 20%, it's very likely that 12 to 15% of that is going to be converted within just one day of signing up, with the rest slowly converting over time through the rest of your welcome series and weekly campaigns. Now, the craziest part of the results that Alex got isn't just the number of people that he converted out of the entire list. So let's look at how much revenue this actually generated for him.
And so that resulted, remember this is a $2,000 price point, in $1.6 million in new sales that we did just from this email campaign. You're like, wait a second, I thought you said you did 2 million or more than 2 million. Let me explain what happened from there. 20% of people ascended into the AK product, which allowed us to make an extra 800K from the ascensions. And so that gave us $2.4 million in total from this 7-day email campaign.
So Alex was selling a high ticket offer and the numbers add up. Personally, I don't have any experience working in the info niche, but man, this looks like it would be very fun. The typical ROI that we see from our clients really depends on the AOV and the time of year, but a typical campaign with a good offer can really generate anywhere from $5,000 to $150,000, depending on the company's list size. And the most that we've made from one single continuous campaign, like the one that Alex is talking about, was probably from a recent Black Friday sale campaign for a recent client that drove over $1.6 million over the course of the sale.
It's okay to ask for the sale again. And so all these people, or the majority of these buyers, hadn't bought this thing. And so when we asked again, some people were afraid of making the second ask, but people get busy. You know, they leave a shopping cart up and then they, you know, their kid screams and they forget about it. Like, it happens. And so you can't get too bent out of shape on the fact that like you're gonna offend people by asking them. It's okay to ask as long as you've earned the right and you've given until you've deposited enough goodwill that there's enough demand, there's surge there, that you can let loose the valve of money and it can come on and then you can close it again.
This is pure gold and 100% true. No one is thinking about your emails and your offers as much as you are, which means that sending follow-up campaigns to remind your subscribers about an ongoing sale or offer that you have is just going to generate a ton of revenue for you, and it's not going to make anyone mad. The mistake that a lot of companies make here, though, is just repeating the exact same message over and over again in their subscribers' inbox, or worse, just resending the exact same email that says shop the sale. This is what subscribers find annoying because these emails provide no additional value to them. So what we do for all of our clients when they have an offer running is we include reminders of that offer as an additional block or CTA in an email that's providing value. So for example, if a food brand, let's say, is running an offer for 20% off, we're going to send an email highlighting the top recipes to try this month or the functional benefits of specific ingredients in the product. And then we're going to tie in a call to action to shop the product now while the offer is still running. I generally agree with Alex about turning the sales valve on and off, and I do think that it's an easy rule of thumb for most companies to follow. But I also think that at my agency, Dispatch, we've really mastered how to intertwine these two by blending value-oriented content and merchandising really tastefully in order to convert subscribers efficiently from all emails, not just sales. So essentially our philosophy is that we're never wanting to fully turn that tap off, which really results in much higher revenue when it's compounded over the course of a year through all your campaigns. Now, all of this advice is super useful and Hormozi is a very smart guy, but none of this really matters if you don't know how to tactically implement it and actually start using email marketing as a revenue channel in your business. And maybe more importantly, you absolutely need to know all of the recent technical changes as well as all of the trends that are working right now in email marketing to make companies millions. Which is why in the next video, I go over the new way to do email marketing this year that's outperforming everything we've ever tried in the past so that you can implement these things to build an incredibly strong email marketing foundation and strategy and get get the absolute most out of your email list and in general, spawn profit out of nowhere. So if you want to make money with email marketing this year, I'll see you over there.